Come on in, everybody. Come on in. Q&A on the porch. Q&A time. Dwan, what do you do after pulling 12 hours with your 3 different businesses? Get online and talk shit with my people. That's what I do. What's up, American Negro? American Negro. Good brother right there. What's up, Jordan? Yeah, I'm on the Q&A tip. What's up, Bruce? But tonight's Q&A tip has a theme to it. We talking about America being reparations for everyone but us. Yeah, I fucks with hybrids mostly. I don't do too many American Negro. I don't do too many straight up indicas, you know. I do sometimes, but straight up indica, I always keep a little of that to the side for when I'm sore or I need to go to sleep or some shit like that. But I generally fuck with sativas or hybrids. Or if I do an indica, I have a sativa too, and I'll mix them. Get the Womp Santa Wamps. What's up, Nicole CNC? What's up, Bruce? Jordan? What's up, Dre Day? Oh yeah, Mixcloud is fun. If you're not part of the Mixcloud, you can catch the archives either on Mixcloud or now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you want to replay of my Incense and Ashtrays live, my music mixdowns, get it right now on Spotify. Yeah. But tonight, we talking about, Dr. Short was going off today. That's what got me inspired to talk about what I'm talking about America being reparations for everybody but us. Think about it. Think about it for a second. The Europeans' relationship with their governments historically has been brutal. It's been brutal at best. Just flat out, when you look at the Europeans' relationship with their government before the United States existed, it was always overtaxation. It was always the mass poverty with a few rich. Not just Europe. When you're talking about India, the Middle East, when you're talking about places that Europe has affected, Central and South America, it's been these crazy caste systems. Straight up caste systems that guarantee large levels of poverty with a few on top living good. We have to understand that the United States of America is Europe, all right? It's Europe infesting North America. That's what it is. And white supremacy is feudalism. It's the caste system. But instead of serfs and knights and peasants and nobility and kings, you have white on top, and you have the color caste system. Well, Europeans have been mistreated by their governments going back to before the Hellenistic period, going back as long as they've had governments, as long as they've had leadership, the common European has been getting shitted on, right? Follow me here, follow me. The common European been basically getting shitted on throughout his existence, 6,000 to 8,000 years or so. Those countries that the United States of America allows over, because you notice they don't let everybody over. They let people from select countries over. Those countries, for the last 400 or 500 years, 600 years, have been playing a feudalistic style caste system, but based on color, but even more on color than ours. So the people from those countries that come from those environments, that the government screwed them over, they didn't take the time to revolutionize where they are, right? And this isn't shitting on all immigrants. I'm not. I'm just speaking in general, big picture here. This is big picture. This is big picture. This isn't going at any individuals, okay? And this isn't saying that we're better than anyone else. It's none of that shit. We just talking history. The United States is a country that has generated the most wealth any country has seen in modern times on the record. And that wealth was created by us, the black people. And it still is. It's not just a was, it still is. America's number one export is its culture. America's culture is defined by its music. All of that is what we create. So this isn't a thing of the past. We're not just talking about slavery. We're talking about 2022. America's number one export is still its culture. It's what America still makes its money on now, because America doesn't make anything of substance. It just sells what we create out of thin air. America's opened up its doors to groups of people, and it basically put them ahead in the caste system without having to do anything other than make it to these shores. They didn't have to create anything. They didn't have to innovate anything. They didn't have to win any wars. They just had to make it to these shores from Cuba, from the Dominican, from Nigeria, from Venezuela. They don't really have too many Venezuelans here in America. Let me take that back. You don't really see too many Venezuelans here. You see a lot of people from Canada, and Europe, Asia. These people have gotten the chance to sort of to get pushed to the head of the social order just by showing up. And that's why I say America is reparations for everyone except for us. America is reparations for the European who his only relationship with his government has been a relationship of tyranny. And it's reparations for Latin America and parts of Africa and the Caribbean that America has put his foot down on and strangled economically. America strangled a lot of these places economically. So the places that they strangle economically, if those people can make it to these shores, that's their reparations. So when you think about it from that point of view, let's take it to today. Black Americans fighting for reparations. Why is everybody so mad? Why does that bother so many people? I had this one dude on my Instagram when I talked about reparations. You know it is when you could tell somebody's coming at you sideways, that they have an angle, but they just not being. You see an angle, you just don't know what it is. You know they ain't been up front. I had this guy on my Instagram yesterday come at me with an angle, asking me about reparations, who deserves it, and how will it be distributed. And I knew when he was asking, I knew he was just basically wanting to open up the door to talk about why we as black people don't deserve reparations. And the dude had like a Latin last name. So after I answered him straight up, he did exactly what I thought he would do. Started going into as to why we don't and cannot, and it's too expensive to get reparations. And I told the guy, I said, you know what? I knew you probably had an angle. I should have just deleted your comment the minute I saw it. And the dude gets mad. And so I deleted the whole thread and keep pushing because, it's one thing about social media, it's my fucking Instagram. I can do what the hell I want to do on it. One thing about the internet, you create your reality. If it's something you don't want to see, you know what you have the power to do on the internet? You have the power to delete it. And if anyone else have a problem, if anyone has a problem with that, you have the power to delete them too, and never hear from them again. Right? I don't think people exercise that power enough. See, if something happens in real life, you see some bullshit, it's kind of hard to delete a certain memory out your file. You know what I mean? You can't just off your coworker. You still got to deal with that motherfucker. But on the internet, something you don't like happens, you just can delete the shit and keep pushing. A lot of people don't understand this principle. So after I deleted this dude's comment, he came all up in my inbox and like talking about, well, I didn't know you were so sensitive. I thought you can't listen to someone with a difference of opinion. And I said, I'm gonna tell you this one time before I delete this box. And if you respond to this, I'm just gonna delete you off my profile. And you'll just block you and you'll never be able to talk to me again. So I'll say this and I'll say this once. I don't give a fuck what you think. Things like reparations for black people, that's nothing to talk to any about, right? That's nothing to talk to anyone about. That's not a conversation where you and I debate and if you don't think, no. If you don't think we deserve reparations, you don't think we deserve reparations. It's not my job to convince you. And people have gotten hella entitled with telling black people what they think we deserve and what we don't deserve. So when you listen to these people talk and they say things like, I don't want my taxes to pay for your fill in the blank, fill in the blank, fill in the blank. Say, well, my taxes already went to pay to educate your illiterate family when they arrived on the shores of America, especially if they came from through Ellis Island in Europe. Them motherfuckers was illiterate. That was coming through Ellis Island. That was coming from Italy and Germany and Ireland. Them motherfuckers was brainless, dumb. They didn't even come with no fucking skills. They just came useless. And black people with our meager resources in the 1800s, 1900s, we had to pay for that through our taxes. We wasn't making shit, and the little shit that we made had to go to them motherfuckers. Same thing now with the influx of so many people from Asia to the United States. Our taxes pay for that. So these people who have already gotten their reparations paid for by not only our blood, sweat, and tears, but our taxes today. These are the main people telling us what we don't deserve. That's why I say it's not our job to argue with people like that. Every immigrant ain't like that. The immigrants that aren't like that, they'll never argue with you. They understand. And we respect y'all. Because even with all this being said about the influx of immigrants and how things have been taken and blah, 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 black people, we still ain't threatened by y'all. We really not. Matter of fact, immigrants bring a certain flavor. I like the flavor that they bring. I like having, I talked to someone today from Jamaica, and we had a cool ass conversation. But I was talking to somebody who was enrooted and ingrained in their Jamaican culture. They didn't want to be us, and I don't want to be them. When you run across that kind of relationship, then you can get a fair cultural exchange, and you can learn something about somebody else. And through learning about other people, through learning about other cultures, you learn more about yourself. So I ain't here to, you never gonna see me shit on all immigrants. You ain't never that. But I'm not going to allow my relationship with some cool immigrants. I'm not going to, just because I know there are a lot of cool immigrants out there who ain't on this bullshit, I cannot let that stop me from speaking to the bigger picture of the problem that we're dealing with right now as people. So, as someone who is, as a rhetorician, like I should say, I don't know if that's a word. I know for y'all, thank you for everybody that's on my Patreon. I know I ain't been posting much on there. It's only a few videos on there. I'm really about to get in deeper on Patreon with how to, as far as using my communication studies background. But I'm not gonna leave everything for Patreon. I'm gonna say I'm just tell y'all that out. 90% of what I say is gonna be right here on YouTube. Patreon, I can do things on Patreon that I can't do here. Like Zoom and answer certain type questions, and Patreon I have all kinds of like slides and presentations that I've gathered over the last 20 plus years I've been doing this. So I got shit. And plus, with my company Breakthrough, I don't even talk to y'all about this, but I do corporate events. I do communication retreats with corporations, and I go into these different companies and I help them with their communication. So I have all kind of paperwork and shit that I charge these motherfuckers. I'm not gonna tell y'all how much for me to come and do. So I'm gonna start bringing more of that kind of stuff over here to YouTube. I'm integrating my work life with YouTube. Generally, the whole time I've been on here, I've been separate. I keep what I do professionally generally away from YouTube. I generally don't cross what I do. My cardology, most of you niggas didn't even know I read cards. That I've always kept. That's why I'm DwannB here on YouTube and on social media. My real name is DwannBrown, but DwannBrown would always be taken. So it's always people named Brown. So DwannB was just the available handle on Twitter and Instagram 12 years ago. So that sort of became an online persona, and I've always kept that separate from DwannBrown. But now the two are merging, because I help people with this shit, like for real. I want to help more of y'all. And one of the ways I'm helping is because while we are out here on these internet streets, yes, it's best to say don't engage, don't argue with these people, but I know how the internet works, and I know how some of these people can really get up under your skin. So because of that, you gonna argue with these motherfuckers. So I'm like, okay, so since people gonna argue, it's best that we don't argue, it's best that we stay focused. But if we are, the least we can do is understand some perspective here. So that's what today's about. Tonight's about perspective, and that perspective. Know that you're dealing with people who already got their reparations. And these people have come from cultures that say what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine. Especially your Europeans. And your Asian cultures, especially when you're dealing with like China. China is one of the biggest cheating cultures on the planet. I heard somebody say, I don't know Mandarin, so I can't tell you, I can't verify this for you or not. But I've heard people tell me, like, in China, like, there's like almost no word for, like, the word for cheating really doesn't really have the same context that it does here. Like, in their culture, it's like almost like if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Like, I know an Asian, and she was telling me, she was like, yeah, in that culture, it's like part of the culture is finding the way around. You're sort of looked at as a genius if you work around the establishment. If you think I'm lying, go look up UCLA cheating scandal with China. The same time that chick from Full House had got caught cheating to get her kids into school, at that same time, there was an even larger cheating scandal at UCLA with people from China. So these are cultures that they see they come up as theirs, but they also see you as a come up. We culturally are a giving culture and an accepting culture. When a giving, accepting culture confronts a selfish culture that's all about taking, and they'll use deception or any means it takes to get up, the accepting culture is always going to lose. This is science. This is anthropology. This is what people get paid tens of millions of dollars to write peer-reviewed articles for in these schools that never get out to the common public. But they know this and we don't. So we're running up against people capturing their reparations, and they see us getting our reparations as a threat to their reparations. That's what's going on subconsciously with these people. So when you argue with them and you try to get them to see your humanity, you're not going to win that one, black people. And you also have to make sure that when you talk to them from that point of view. You got to know that their perspective has nothing to do with fairness. They got their reparations. And I'm talking about specifically those that will argue with you and question you why you think you want reparations. The immigrants who have a more giving, caring nature, they're not going to argue with you. This doesn't even apply to them. They're not going to sit back and tell you what you don't deserve. They're going to be like, hell, yes, you deserve reparations, because when y'all get y'all's, we going to get ours. So I want to make it very clear, we're talking about the people who like to argue with us. We're talking about the people who like to argue with us. So, oh, what's up, Aries? Yeah. What's up, Quan? I'm just not looking at the chat room. I've been running my mouth. I'm just not looking at the chat room. I've been in the stream of thought. What's up, B Polly? Thank y'all for joining. Scotty, Frank Green, Quan, yeah. What's up, y'all? I realized there's so many. Last time I looked down at my phone, it was 16 of you motherfuckers in here. Now it's 45. Shit, okay. All right. But I wanted to get that off because we gotta understand that communication is warfare. Rhetoric is war. Rhetoric is war. You gotta remember, the gunshots and the bombs and the direct conflict, that's always the last step. That is always the final step. These other steps before then are at play every day. The war of words, rhetoric. And your rhetoric is controlled by your perception. So if black people, as long as we're looking at others through our cultural lens, you can look up, if you're interested, I'm just talking straight up anthropological science right now. And I'm using anthropological science words like cultural lens. You can look that up. The cultural lens is the perspective one sees the world through their culture. We all see the world, if we're not conscious on separating, removing ourselves from the process. When you're looking at things naturally, you're looking at them through your cultural lens. Your culture is what you do every day, your environment. We all have a dominant culture and we all have subcultures. And we all have subcultures within the subcultures. Like, so if you're black, that's one cultural lens. You see it as a black person, that's the big picture lens. Okay, you know that the system is against you. You know the police don't really fuck with you. The banks give you lower FICO scores, yada, 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 yada. And then you have the region you're in. You're black now, but you see it through a black New Yorker's lens. New Yorkers see the world very multiculturally. They see Dominicans and Puerto Ricans and all these other people around them. So their perspective on things is going to be slightly different than someone from, say, South Carolina that only are around a certain type of black person, which is going to be different than a person from Atlanta, especially if they've been in Atlanta over the last 20 years, where you have black folks and then you got, the other things going on in Atlanta, with all the dookie activities. Y'all gonna have a different perspective than motherfuckers from Huntsville, Alabama. But you're gonna have a general Southern perspective, but where you are in the South is gonna change. Your perspective is gonna change depending on your city. And then if we break it down even smaller than that, the side of town that you live on. Are you a black person that's completely from the projects, or are you on the good side of the ghetto? Because one thing that they like to do is they like to make it seem as if black people have one experience. No, there's variance. We're not all from the slums. Yeah, ghetto's a mindset, not necessarily a location. You can live in a certain location but not have a ghetto mindset. And that's where your family's lens comes through. And you looking through, put picture like this. When you're looking at life, imagine every experience being a line that's drawn in that vision. Every experience, your cultural perspective, your subculture, all of those things are lines. And all these lines get drawn horizontally, vertically, diagonally. And at some point through all, that's going to shape the way you see whatever's going on. So black people, with us for the most part being herded around other black people, I look at how it was like when my parents moved to View Park when I was 17. At 17, when I moved to View Park, I got to see, that's a part of LA that's overlooking the city, got a view of the city right out the living room. We can see the fireworks show down at Disneyland. That's how, and Disneyland's a 40-mile drive away. That's how great the view is. And it's black people on top of black people. But one of my neighbors was like owned his own schools, Montessori schools. The other neighbor was like one of the top guys at the LAPD. The lady across the street, her husband used to own like one of the local newspapers. I never saw stressed out black people over there. It was very neighborly, very warm. And then versus when I was in the Crenshaw district, I got to see half neighbors, half niggas. Like some of my neighbors, I had the most dopest neighbors, but across the street, nigga, you might get shot. And then versus when I was on the east side, that was, all kind of shit going on. So as a black person that had those experiences, I see how the three different sides of just one city I grew up on, how the perspective of how you view life change, depending on literally your zip code in the city. Why am I having this long ass talk? I'm trying to be very detailed. When I explain things, I try my best to be detailed. I'm saying that because a lot of our cultural perspective is of one another and how we get down. And even though you may not like that black person across the street, you guys still share a common cultural perspective, no matter what your socioeconomic condition is. No matter what that person could be on Section 8, you could be making $80,000 a year. But you still share a common cultural perspective. Now, you get someone from another country and they have those same their sets of experiences and they're looking through their cultural lens. They may be leaving their country, not all, but they may be leaving their country because of some bullshit that they did in their country. You ever think about that? I know I know a lot of Armenians here in LA because I like back in the day when I used to have rims on my truck, when I thought rims in the sound system was a good idea to invest in during my 20s, I became cool with a lot of Armenians because Armenians be having a hookup on that shit. And I would talk to my Armenian homies and they say things like, you black people, y'all think you guys have a jealousy problem? They'd be like, Armenians are the most jealous people on earth. One of them, his name was Joseph. Joseph said, you'll see an Armenian buy a house in Glendale, or it'll be like 2 or 3 families that'll go in and put in on the house so they all can look like they own something. And you'll go inside the house and they'll be sleeping on mattresses with no real beds. And all of their clothes are knockoffs. And one thing the Armenians do out here in LA, they, if you see them in Armenian, and like, you'll see them all the time, like in a Porsche, you'll see them in Ferraris, you'll see them in like those Mercedes SLSs, the ones that cost like 400 grand. But the thing is, they get their cars salvaged. So what a salvage title means is a car was totaled out, and this they hustle. They'll get a Porsche 911, and it's been totaled out. It has rear end damage and maybe some side damage. They'll buy that shit for like $10,000. They'll put another $15,000 or $20,000 into it. Now they have a $140,000 car for $30,000. The shit be, when they drive down a freeway, the shit be whispering and the window don't fucking roll up all the way, but the paint job is nice. To you, that motherfucker balling. But all they do is wear knockoffs to impress each other and shit on each other. That's all the fucking Armenians do, is shit on each other. My house is better than yours. I'm wearing better clothes than you do. And all they do is act like niggas. You think the reason why they love Jay-Z so much is because he speaks to their cultural perspective. I'm better than you. I got better clothes than you. My bitch is better than yours. Do you niggas know while we go around hating each other, do you know out here in LA, most Armenians, I'll go so far as to say 90%, they have a nose job by the time they're 16. That's like a rite of passage in their culture to get a white-shaped nose. They act black while trying to look white. Why am I telling you all this? I'm gonna tell you something about the Asians, the Chinese. A long time ago, my wife worked at a furniture store, right? And she used to be like, when she worked at that furniture store, she was like, all we get is these Asians from Palos Verdes coming down trying to buy anything white people are on. Like, you'll ask them what they want, they'll be like, she'll be like, basically, whatever white people are on, these Asians are spending paint trying to get like. Y'all niggas, black people, we really don't understand how much these people don't fuck with their own culture like that. We really don't know. Like, me and my wife, we would have these conversations when she would come home from work sometime. I'm so glad I don't have her working no more. Shit, I love having my wife home with me, man. Make my money, baby. Stay home. Take care of this house. So glad I ain't got her working no more. But She, when she was working, man, these motherfuckers, we would have these long conversations about how all these Asians want, because she, at first we were frustrated her. Then once she figured it out, she started like getting their asses. Like whatever white people were on, you could charge an Asian double. They want it. All you gotta do is sell to them whiteness. They are paying. We don't know how much these people don't fuck with them, each other, and how they look at you, and how they look at themselves. If you're dealing with a group of people that don't like themselves, they want to be white. They really don't fuck with you, all right? Now, what we get confused because they like hip hop. We get confused because they like basketball. We get confused because they like roast me and wilding out. Here's how we get that confused. Black people, we historically see people like what we do, and we mistakenly think that makes them like us, and be the furthest from the truth. They don't like us. They like our culture. But let me tell you something deeper. Do you know why they like our culture? Because it's fucking dope. That's why. No other reason. They like it because it's dope, which makes them extremely jealous. You don't see Asians over here in the United States selling kabuki theater. Do you? You don't see Latinos in America selling merengues and fucking shakers and loud ass fucking cowbells and shit. You don't see them selling that here. They may sell some tacos. They may sell some chow mein. Even that shit's Americanized. They don't sell it the way they do it back at home, I'll tell you that goddamn much. So we gotta understand that this is what's going on in the mindset of people who question your desire for reparations. Again, these aren't blanket statements. There are those immigrants out there who work through these issues. There are those immigrants out there who used to be this way, but they saw how shit was. You got someone who's never been that way. But again, they're never going to question why you need reparations either. They're not. They're just going to sit on the sideline and chill. I'm going to tell y'all right now, like, I got an Asian homegirl. She see the shit I write on Facebook. She see what I write on the internet about Asian on Asian. You know what she say? Nothing. And when I need legal advice, she calls me back within 5 minutes. She usually answers when I call. But unless she's in court, if I have any legal anything I need to know, I got an Asian homegirl right now that I can call. You know my company, Breakthrough Advocacy Services? That whole idea came from an Asian woman. So I'm the last person to talk about everybody being anything. But I'm also at the same time, just because I have good relationships with people and I understand there's good in every culture, I'm not gonna fucking buck my eyes and shut up to what's really going on in the world. That'd be the problem. That'd be the problem. A lot of you niggas are cool with people from other cultures, and you think because you and that one person cool, you and that other one is cool, you thinking now you gotta be the spokesman for their whole race. That's where you dumb niggas fuck up. That's where them kind of niggas fuck up. What's up, Butter Love? But my company, Breakthrough Advocacy Services, let me tell y'all how that started. I was working at my last job, working with kids, right? I'm doing IEPs. I'm working in the school system, and my head is fucked up, man. Because I'm thinking, I'm like, man, this whole system is fucked up. This shit is rigged. Every time we find solutions on how to help these motherfuckers, the school system change. And then at my job, every time I find something to help, the job say, okay, you can't do that no more. It was like when I was working and getting paid by the county, every time we find an effective things that consistently worked, the county would be like, oh yeah, no, we can't bill for that. You got to do something different. And you'd be like, what? So Hidden Colors came out, and I saw Dr. Welsing and Kaba and Umar talk about the school system. And when they talked about that shit, them niggas was basically talking like they was at my job. I didn't know who any of them was at the time, but I kind of knew who Dr. Welsing was because I remember her from Donahue. But I didn't read her book or nothing like that. I was in high school back then. I wasn't reading no fucking books other than what they told me to read in school when I was 15. Fuck that. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I was always this knowledgeable nigga. When I was 16, I ain't reading shit the school didn't ask me to read. But anyway, I was working at Hathaway at the place, and I'm constantly coming up into these issues. And I'm like, man, I gotta do my own thing, but I don't know what to do. So I'm driving Uber, and I get an Uber pickup, Uber food delivery. I take it to this address, and I recognize this address. This address, I was like, huh. So I pulled up. It ended up being the homegirl from college. When I was in college, I went to Cal State Northridge, but I partied at UCLA. Like UCLA is where I partied for the most part, because I was like cool with the whole basketball team when they went to the national championship. That was my last year in college. I was cool with all them niggas, so I would go to the games and just sit around and party at UCLA. Well, one night we went to go hang out after, and I was with a few cats on the team, and we went to a sorority house. And me, I ain't fucking with none of them white girls, even back in college. I'm good, but I'll chill. Well, the one chick was an Asian chick, and we just had a cool conversation that night. Didn't nothing go on. Actually, didn't nothing go on with nobody that night. We was playing video games. We ended up playing video games at the sorority house. And we just became cool, me and the Asian chick. She went ahead, we lost contact. She graduated college, got her law degree. I drive an Uber, I do a drop off, and I hadn't seen her like in 5 years. And she's like, what are you doing? She's like, I see you, because we were Facebook friends, but we never really talked. She's like, I see you be working with the kids. I said, yeah, I be doing these IEPs. And she was like, people be getting paid whoopty wham for IEPs. I said, shit, what? It take me 2 weeks to get paid that. And I'm doing 3 or 4 of these IEPs a week. Man, she put me up on a whole game. And she put me up in this, she threw her lawyer hookup through her law firm, got me into this IEP legal course that cost thousands of dollars. And then she hooked me up with one of her IEP lawyer friends and gave me all my legal documents I need. These documents would have easily cost me $10,000 to draft up by a lawyer. She did all this shit for nothing. That's the Asian homegirl. Again, like I said, she sees what I write. She sees what the fuck I talk about. But at the end of the day, she knows what it is. If I call her at 9 o'clock tomorrow and be like, hey, I need some legal advice on such and such, she's going to give it to me, in spite of the shit I say about Asians. Why? Because she know it's a bunch of bullshit. Low ass helicopter. So why am I saying that, black people? I'm saying that to say you don't need to be afraid. Speak your fucking mind. Be 100 with what it is. And don't be afraid of these people. You have the power of fiat just like they have the power of fiat. What's the power of fiat? It's the same thing they say in the church, in the Bible. Call those things that be not as though they were. That's what the power of fiat is. So Donald Trump uses, so everybody uses against us. Defining things for yourself and standing on it. There's power in that. That's why they call it the power of fiat. Fiat is power. The ability to name something and stand on that definition. When you define things, that's power. Nobody gives it to you. You take it. You take that shit. And when it pisses them off, you stand even firmer. Like I told y'all before when I was talking on here, when you're talking to people and you got some real shit to say, you look them dead in your eyes and you don't blink. That's right, Butter Love, C-Son. You look these motherfuckers dead in your eyes and you don't blink. And just because you have a few friends that are Asian or white or Latino or whatever, you don't let that stop you from telling the truth. I'll tell you one thing, you better off telling the truth because your so-called friends, their reactions are gonna tell you how much of a fucking friend they really are. Let's tell the whole truth. Some of you niggas are scared because you may like these motherfuckers more than they like you. Can we talk about that? And you low-key know that. So you don't want to say nothing to offend. You better off saying something because their reaction will tell you how they really feel about you. You right, Quan? They hate each other like a motherfucker in the Asian community. You gotta realize, China just kind of got its weight up in the last 20 years. Before 20 years ago, China was Japan's bitch. Let me say that again. Before about 20 years ago, China was Japan's bitch. Japan spent the last 200 years smacking China around. That little ass island in Japan. Beating the dog shit out of China. Especially before Mao got there. Mao cleaned that shit up in China. But before Mao, man, Japan used to just pull his dick out and slap China, and China didn't do a motherfucking thing about it. They couldn't. Niggas don't like each other. Bet what's going on with there. China got 3 different languages. Mandarin. So you gotta realize Mandarin is only their most popular. Chinese just has like 3 like totally different languages. Like it's whole provinces of China that just really don't fuck with each other like that at all. They even speak different languages. Yeah. So that's the thing. That's the thing. We gotta remember, man. We own the power. It is your God. The power of fiat. The power of fiat is given to every human. That's your God-given right. That's the power of being a human. You have power to name things. That's not just a Bible scripture of Adam naming the stars or whoever the fuck the Bible said named the stars. I don't remember what that nigga name is. Yeah, that's it. Cantonese, Mandarin, and Choi Sao. Nigga. So, these people don't fuck with each other like that. India, the United States, really, Latin culture, European culture, man, they really got that color caste system from fucking India. Them Dravidian motherfuckers and them goddamn, all them all them fucking caste system niggas they have in India. The Brahmin Kamalas versus them, the Dravidian Doslims off Street Fighter 2. My homeboy, one of my best friends from India, I be clowning his ass every chance I get. I call that motherfucker every Middle Eastern name I can find. He like, I'm not Middle Eastern, I'm from India. Like, nigga, you from Uzbekistan, nigga. I be clowning the fuck out of him. When 9/11 happened, that was about 10 years of jokes. My homeboys from India, y'all don't even know, like, when 9/11 happened, when them buildings hit, I was going to Center Mountain College, and he was going to Cal State Long Beach. I called him like at 8 in the morning because I knew he was up about time to go to school. He was like, man, you see what happened? I was like, yeah, man. They're about to arrest you and all your cousins. Oh, shit. But again, just because literally my best friend wasn't born here, one of my 3 best friends on earth, got 3 people that are really very tight with. He's one of the 3. I welcome him and his family over here. They've been nothing but good. Hell, when I first started driving, I used to put my car insurance at his house. Because he lived over in Westchester. You know how car insurance is. It's by your zip code. My car insurance was way cheaper when it was at his address in Westchester. When I brought it to my address, damn. Shit went up $100 a month. But I'm not going to allow that to skew my point of view on the greater good of my people. I'm foundational Black American. Both sides, all the way back. All the way back. The only time I see immigrants come in my lineage are Europeans coming back in the 1600s and the 1700s. The latest migrants in my family tree were the Schaeffers. They were Germans. And they came in like 1790 something. 1805. 1805. And then by the 1840s, they married a colored. And then that colored married a colored. And that colored married a colored. They married a colored that escaped from a plantation in Kentucky and then went back and fought in the Civil War. But those are the only immigrants in my family. But the greater good of y'all, us, that's what's important to me. Oh, let me tell you something. And I did a reading on Black people in America over the next 10 years in my Cartology. Off the top of my head, I think we're 9 of diamonds. I gotta go back. I'm dyslexic, so when I have the cards in front of me, I can see, but when they're not right there in front of me, I'm dyslexic like a motherfucker. That's why I don't usually call out the names of cards, because I can easily be thinking one thing, then call out something else. That's how fucking dyslexic I am. So, but I think it was 9 of diamonds. I think we were a 9 of diamonds. I remember being one of the 9s. And when I was reading, I saw a lot of progress. I saw a lot of awakening. I saw a lot of this decade, these 2020s, astrologically, It's like this is a reset decade. You know what I mean? There's a reset going on right now. That's why I tell people on the broadcast earlier, don't get involved in this shit. Yes, right now it looks violent, and it's going to get more violent throughout the year. But this is the time to apply that faith that you learned in church. When they said, peace be still, what that means is when all this shit is going on around, because just because there's lies in the Bible doesn't take away from the truth you can get in those parables and the wisdom, the Psalms. The Psalms are real. The Psalms is ancient. The Psalms predate the Bible by tens of thousands of years. You can read them Psalms and you can read Proverbs and you good. Like, I always say that. If you want to read something in the Bible, read the Psalms, read the Proverbs. But in these times that we're going to see, we got to realize we're in the hurricane season right now. This country's in a hurricane season. It's in the dead of winter. This is tornado time. Keep your ass underground, black people. Sit your ass down. This is a time for us to unite with family. This is the time for us to mend fences that were broken on petty shit. This is a time to break relationships that aren't constructive to you. If they aren't constructive to you, leave them alone. That's what this time is for us. To really build ourselves from within. Because this shit that we about to see happening around us is about to be a motherfucker. But if you allow the media to get you into fear, you're going to get fucked up. I'm telling you, black people, you're going to get fucked up. If you get involved in this shit, it's like when you watch them fights on the internet when somebody gets socked out and you get that person that run up in the middle of the fight and they get knocked out too. That's what's going to happen to your dumb ass if you get involved in this shit. This is the time that we build from within. It's about to be some fucked up shit going on in this country. But as the decade progresses, it's going to look a lot. 5 years from now, we're going to have a lot of major technological advances. A lot of these technologies that have been getting held up over the last 100 years, you're going to start to see a lot of that come out. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace the technology, black people. Embrace it. Embrace it. Put your kids on it. Because whatever technology these crackers release, if you put your black kid on it and start training them to do this shit at a young age, they're going to wax all these motherfuckers. You can't hold back technology. Get in on it. Get your kids on it. Let our kids be the leaders of the next generation on this shit. Because whatever time little Darius dedicates to what he does, he's going to be the best at. Whether that be basketball, rapping, or creating the next metaverse. Whatever little Darius dedicates his time to, he's going to be the best at it. Whatever little Shaniqua dedicates her time to, she's going to be the best at it. We got to remember that shit. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's why Smitty left. I'm left-handed and dyslexic like a motherfucker. Yeah, we headed towards community. You know? And we don't have time to worry about, like, people saying we got to do this before that. We don't need to change our fucking identity. And these last 2 years have shown that to be very true. Asians just got money. What the fuck is an Asian? That could be is it East Asian? South? That could be Pakistani. That could be, an Asian is subjective. Are Russians Asians or Europeans? It depends on who you ask. They're in Asia, but they're classified as white. So do they get Asian relief? People from India, that's Asia, but they often classify themselves as white. So they're white, but they're Asian. All this shit's arbitrary. Wealth was taken from us on the classification of Negro, mulatto, Melungeon, colored, black. Reparations will be given to us along those lines too. It's that simple. It's nothing to pontificate about. We don't have to go and put on a funny shaped graduation hat and say, we're not gonna give reparations until we get this bucket hat with a tassel on our head. We don't have to wait and say we have to identify with our tribe. You brother, you like you could have been a Mississippian, man. What you need to do is go on down there to Louisiana, you dig? And go to the Natchez Library, and in the Natchez Library, and on the Mississippi side, in Natchez, it's gonna have a library, and in that library, you can trace and see if you got a Puskawusami or if you are a little red feather. Yeah. You're gonna do all that bullshit. The shit was taken along the lines of you being non-white in America at the time. You were classified as non-white. You classified it either as Melungeon, mulatto, Creole, Negro, colored, Indian, whole lot of Indian. I know because I looked at my family records. My mulatto ancestors were enslaved. They didn't get to keep the land in Natchez, Mississippi. I have Indian heritage that married white, and the ones that were Indian were black as fuck. Got pictures of them. Black as shit. So you know what the white one did? The white lady who was born on her birth certificate, I saw white. On her death certificate, it said colored. See, that's what they would do back in the 1820s, the 1850s. If they were white and they wanted to marry a black person, they would just change their classification. They would tell the court, I'm mulatto, or I'm black, or I'm colored. Yeah, my grandmother is Negro. And the court would say, okay, you colored. And then they get married. That's all they did. We didn't need no fucking Loving versus Virginia. The white person would just reclassify themselves. And I know because it's happened 3 different times in my family records. And before you narrow-minded niggas are going to say, Dwan has 3 different white ancestors. When you go back 6 generations, it's like 100. What's that, Quan? Quan, you the mathematician. You go back, 7 generations now. You go back 7 generations, what's that? 256 ancestors? Something like that? 512? When you go back 7 generations, I know it's a multiplier. It's like 500 something people. So out of those 500 some odd goddamn people, 3 of them this happened to, and I got the marriage records to prove it. They birth certificate said white, but they marriage certificate said either mulatto or colored. So I was like, oh. And then I was reading some, they're like, yeah, that's what they would do back then. So, so we don't need to have these conversations with people. You know, when the reparations talk got strong, we've been on a reparations talk since Trump got in office, like 2016. That's when we really started getting loud about reparations, when Trump got in office. So we've been on this now for about 6 years. We spent the first 3 or 4 years explaining this. Everybody knows by now. How long we been explaining this to people? Black, like, of course, reparations never stopped being a thing, but I'm talking about the time they started getting loud. Reparations started getting loud again when Trump was in office. So we've spent 3 or 4 years now explaining to everyone what it is, right? There's a time to explain, then there's a time to get quiet. Now's the time to get quiet with those people. But if you are going to have these conversations with them, because again, like I said, everybody's at different levels. Those of us who've been on this train for a while now, we're getting quiet. There are certain people who just really getting on this train in the last year. So those people may feel like arguing still. I get it. You haven't gotten it out your blood yet. Okay, fine, fair. You just really understanding what this whole reparations thing is about in the last year, in the last 6 months. You still want to argue? Fair. I'm not going to tell you not to. If you are going to argue and you're just now getting in the room, rewind to the beginning of the video and I explain social constructs and how to argue outside of your cultural perspective, for those of you who are at that point. But for the rest of us who've been on this thing for a little while now, it's nothing really to say. When someone challenges reparations, just see them as someone hostile. They're hostile to your survival. You don't treat hostile people hospitably. You either cut communication off, or if you do communicate with them, you cut their asses up verbally. But you're not going to do that every time, so it's best just not to say anything, especially if it's at work. Just don't talk to these people about this kind of shit. Yeah. Yeah, bro, they come up with all kind of shit as to why we shouldn't get reparations. And everything they come up with, we have a counter argument. Well, the United States is already doing that with fill in the blank. Whatever they say they can't do for us, you can already say they do that for LGBTQ, they do that for immigrants, and immigrants can't even vote. They do it to LGBT, and they do it for Asians, and they're a smaller voting bloc. They're an insignificant number of voting blocks. They still get it done. So every reason as to why they say we can't get it, we can point to other groups getting it in spite of that so-called obstacle. So right now, and here's the thing about it. We are truly going through new times right now. We really are. Like, this is a time of mass revealing. Like, we really are living in the time of what's done in the dark shall come to light. That's just happening like a motherfucker right now. So we've been seeing how Biden's been moving over the last 2 years. He's been making this shit easy for us. Asians get COVID relief money, special Native American Protection Act, special LGBTQ Civil Rights Act. I mean, he's been showing his ass with specifics. And everybody sees it. These people that's trying to argue with you, these motherfuckers see it. They see it. So for them to even bring these kind of conversations up to you, that tells you off rip. These motherfuckers just don't respect you. And I got a particular way I deal with people that I don't feel respect me. If I feel like you don't respect me, I have a whole different way of dealing with you than I feel people who do respect me. Yep, Age of Aquarius. What's up there, Moses? Yeah. Somebody said a dual citizenship. I don't see how dual citizenship could do anything. I can see the dual citizenship if whatever country you're gonna have dual citizenship in, if that country had a military that posed a threat to the United States, meaning whatever bond and ties you have with them, they have a means to enforce it, then yeah, in that situation, okay, that will make sense. But if we're just going to go have dual citizenship with another African nation that can't even enforce a monetary value on the resources within their land, I don't see what getting dual citizenship with that country is going to do. Especially if you're dealing with a country that their dollar is 100 to 1 of the euro. The euro ain't got a motherfucking thing backing it but fiat. And they a country with all the damn cobalt and diamonds in the world. You're gonna have dual citizenship with a country that accepts that? I don't see how that's gonna give you any greater leverage. You're better off just withholding your vote and watching these white people fight each other. Because like me and Dr. Short said earlier, this is a time these motherfuckers they're about to be a civil war, y'all. This shit about to be interesting as shit. You see all the people getting shot up? Man. We about to see a return of Waco. And I, for one, I don't wish that. I personally, I don't want to see nobody die. I don't even encourage that kind of behavior. But this country breeds that behavior. Media that spins hate and fear into the most hateful, fearful people on earth, Europeans, Caucasians. You got them motherfuckers on that shit. You got them on that shit when they're like 3. You encourage this. So y'all saw what happened about a month ago. Like the FBI authority, it was like all these white folks, these white extremists was about to go to a gay rally and shoot that motherfucker up. The FBI intercepted that shit. Salute to the FBI, because although those people are pansying around their little rainbow flags, I don't think they deserve to get shot up for it. But them white boys did. Them white boys got up in the paddy wagon and was about to go and murk a whole bunch of gay-ass white people. And the FBI was like, nah, you're not going to do this today. Nigga, we was founded by a fag. J. Edgar Hoover, shit. Not today, buddy. Like, that's coming. Like, yeah, Ruby Ridge. You already saw Clive and Bundy He beat the government twice, him and his kids. Motherfucker had a standoff on government land in Nevada. And them motherfuckers pointed guns at the FBI and the ATF. And the government backed down. Same deal with them Climbing boys in Portland. That encouraged these motherfuckers. That shit encouraged these white boys. So, in a time where there's mass poverty and these people that are impoverished are seeing this country give billions of dollars to the Ukraine, and they're allowing immigrants over, and them same people down in the Bible Belt got to see Little Nas X and all these sissy activities. That's a time bomb, people. That's just a social time bomb. Black people stay your ass home. Stay home. Stay home. Yeah, I ain't going nowhere. My ancestors built this place. What's up, Cassandra? Man, y'all see my Black Music Family tree? I'm proud of that project. That project is taking on a life of its own. That Black Music Family tree is just a start. But you see the 400 years of music that we created on this land? We had the Fist Jubilee Singers. Come on, man. Going over to England in the 1860s. We created ragtime, nigga. We created the blues, jazz, hip hop, air conditioning, the stoplight, the freezer. Come on, the doorknob. Come on, railroad crossing, the car. We did all that shit here. Why the fuck would we leave that? Just to go to some other country in the middle of their own goddamn civil war. Let me tell you another reason why I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Quan. See, but here's the reason why that's like another insult to like leave like that. Our ancestors did that shit as slaves and under Jim Crow, man. And under Jim Crow 2.0. Hey, black people, let me say, before I get to the other point, black people that are alive right now, us millennials, Gen X, even to my boomers out there, and Gen Z, this post-1968 America has probably been the most oppressive era in United States history. Yes, even more so than slavery. Why would I say that? Go back and look at pictures of slaves. You saw their chin was still up. There was still a pride. You don't really see, go back and look at the pictures in the 1860s, the 1870s of black people, the 1920s. We had, our shoulders were back, our chins were up. Even just those casual pictures of New York in the 19 teens during the Harlem Renaissance, When you're just seeing people, they don't even know they're getting a picture taken of them. They're just out on the street. Our posture, the way we carried ourselves we had a different body language back then. Look at our body language now. Look at our shoulders are always slunched over. We don't lift our heads up the way we used to. That's because the white supremacists learned us so well. They really got us with our humanity since post 1968. They told us it was one thing while it was something totally different. They know that we are human people. All they have to do is tell us and make us feel a certain way. If they make us feel a certain way, they know that they can do whatever they want because we're the oldest people on this earth. We're very humane people. And if you talk to us right and you appeal to our humanity, culturally, when you appeal to our humanity, we're going to bend. That's who we are as a people, and they know that. So they got the system so refined to where they can still operate it as effectively as they want to. But it's happening right up under our nose, and we don't see it, but we feel it every day. When we saw it, we could draw those lines and still keep our dignity. During slavery, slaves didn't see themselves as slaves. They were farmers. That's not just me talking. Pull up the slave narratives. You can get them at the libraryofcongress.org. They didn't see themselves as slaves. They saw themselves as farmers. You get a child born on your plantation and you get to educate them. You say, hey, yeah, you came from Africa, but you're part of our family, but you're just a farmer. You go over there and work. Oh, but when I beat you, that's just because the same way we beat these horses. You know, you got to work, but you're a farmer. They had a different perspective than we have now looking back. And that they had the perspective they needed to get through that horror. But now, the last 60 years, it's been so refined and so subconscious. We have to go to them for education. Brown versus Board of Education is one of the worst things that could happen to us. They got to educate us from day one and then tell us to go to college. And like I said before, only thing college does is college teaches you how to think like a white female liberal. That's all college does, outside of the technical. Now, if you're an engineer, architect, if you majored in, in the hard science or math, then you have those technical skills to where that didn't confront you as much. But if you have a liberal arts degree or anything that's non-hard science, the only thing college did was teach you how to think like a white woman. So the level of deception we've been under this generation, and we're still here, in spite of them really, the menticide that they play on us, started from the first day we watched TV. We the kids of the TV generation. Black people of the 20s and even up into the 50s and 60s, they weren't propagandized. They would go down to the movie, but the movie is 2 or 3 hours of the day. They back to working and living life the rest of the week. Up until the 60s, it wasn't until the 60s you started to get TVs in every house. In the 50s, it was still hit and miss. In the 50s, 1 or 2 people on the block may have had a TV, and everybody went over there to see them. So those generations weren't propagandized. And we don't really understand how our brains aren't developed to the point of understanding the level of propaganda that we get. We're really the first generation, us millennials, we're the first generation of constant bombardment of propaganda. Even Gen X, they remember at some point the TV turned off and there was no phone and no internet to go to. At some point in the day, you had to be by yourself without propaganda. However much time that is, that's enough time for you to reset your mind. Because a lie has to be told every day, all day for you to believe it. If you're not constantly being lied to through propaganda from your enemy, you live in a different world than those who are. So we're the first generation that's been under constant bombardment of propaganda 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All propaganda that's told us to live a life of self-destruction and LGBTQism. Why do I say that? Go back to music of the 2000s. I always called the 2000s was the fuckboy era of hip-hop. I got more money than you. I got better bitches than you. My rims are better than yours. I dress better than you. Get like me. Stunting is a habit. That's the propaganda that the Negroes of our generation sold to us. Or I could be like Mike. I want to be like Mike. I want to be like Michael Jordan. The music is gonna tell me to stunt and shit on my brother, cause he can't afford the shoes that I can afford. I need 2 pair. And then nowadays, if you don't like dick in your ass, you ain't shit. Only nice people on earth are men who like to wear dresses and suck pee-pees. And if you straight and black, you ain't shit. And if you're a black woman who thinks for yourself and you don't want to be a liberal Democrat, well, fuck you. That's what we get fed every day, all day. And for us to still have a sane mind and have the strength to build and push for reparations again, in spite of being raised on that shit, this generation of people alive right now, whether you're 70 or 7, needs to pat yourself on the back and recognize that in the future, when things are better, they're going to look back on us as the ancestors that dealt with the darkest before the dawn. That's what we're going to be remembered as. Those who face down 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of constant propaganda, because the brain is predisposed to believe whatever it sees. That's how our brain functions. It's what's helped humans survive 1 million years on this planet, believing what you see. We're the first generation in human history that's gotten 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of imagery that our brain doesn't quite yet know how to filter out. TV hasn't been around long enough for our brain to know how to filter out what they're doing to us. But the field of psychology, the field that they use, god damn, that was a good one. It's firework time in LA. Usually it's more fireworks than this right now. Like 4th of July is next week. Usually you probably would have heard that about 15 times tonight by now. They don't really crack down on them illegal fireworks. This was 3 or 4 years ago. That would have been like the 15th or 16th one you heard. Nah. It's firework. That shit shot up 2 houses down. I still see the smoke. Let me see if I can show y'all the smoke cloud. Y'all see the smoke cloud? Y'all see that little cloud? That's the shit that shot up and made that goddamn noise. Yeah. That motherfucker. Douche. Yeah, that's what that was. I saw that shit shoot up. I'm like, what? Douche. That shit kind of woke me up. I was about to log off. Shit, I'm gonna talk to y'all a little longer now. I was about to log off this motherfucker. That shit kind of got my blood moving. Knockingberry, it depends. Some parts of South Bay, the fireworks are legal. Other parts that aren't. They're legal over here. Now, that shit wasn't. Damn. Oh, shit. Nigga done littered. Yeah. I didn't even see it went off. Questlove has a documentary. Questlove, man, great drummer. I love his sound. I love his music production. But some of that brother's perspective on things, you could tell the Democrats. I think that Tonight Show gig came with the Roots becoming Democrats. Demo niggas. Demo Negroes. When I saw them at the Hollywood Bowl last week, Black Thought talking about some happy pride. I'm like, man. Questlove calling niggas that refuse to get the shot stupid. Just get the fucking shot. Come on, Questlove. Your job is lay the pocket down on that music. Not tell me with any medical advice. Sit that shit down. Don't let these Questlove. If you hear me, I love you, brother. You're an asset to music. You'll go down in the annals of music history as one of the greats. But politically, sit your ass down. Just make your documentaries, do what you do, but stop talking to us about what we need to do as black people and all that stuff. No. And coronavirus, saying what they want you to say, man, just, no. Oh yeah, I remember Griffin on him. Professor Griffin's calling him, he's like, Quest hate. Professor Griffin was mad. He's like, I got something to say to you. Quest hate. That shit was funny. Yeah, the thing I don't respect about it, when everyone starts to sound the same, that's the clue. That's not their point of view. They don't have a point of view. Or if they do have one, that ain't it. If everybody sounding the same, that's just groupthink. It's not a point of view anymore. If everybody with a blue check is saying the same thing, we're not dealing with a point of view now. We're dealing with a groupthink, a group message. Uh, uh, yeah. Y'all funny with that. Yeah, that, talking about Dallas traffic. One thing, yeah, Dallas do be having bad traffic. When I was in Houston, I was in Missouri City with Larry, so I was on the outside of that loop. But the traffic was kind of bad. I've been to Dallas a lot. Every time I go to Dallas, it's bad traffic. Yeah, but that's all I wanted to say, black people, man. We own the power of fiat. Speak from your perspective, 10 toes down. Don't compromise. Understand that other groups don't see the world the way you see it. They have their own cultural lens that dictates their point of view. And if they're arguing about why you don't need reparations, that's because they see you as a threat. They don't respect you. I'm not saying it may be subconsciously, but either way it goes, subconscious, just because something's subconscious don't mean it's safe. Subconscious runs the program. So even though you may think that, no, they don't consciously think that. Conscious activity is only 10% of brain activity. The subconscious is what actually runs the program. So if they challenge you on why you don't need reparations, that means they think deep within in the system that's running how their mind works, that you aren't worth it. And if they feel that way, they're not your friends. So if they ain't your friends, fuck how they feel. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm about to get up out of here. I had fun with y'all twice today. Dr. Short earlier, go back and listen to that. She want to low-key swing on any black person speaking against reparations. Yeah, that's why I just don't interact with them. Those people, because you do want to swing at them. So, okay, I know how this nigga think. We're not going to talk about this. We ain't about to have this conversation. And I tell people that. We ain't having this conversation. I'm not about to think like your coon ass, and you ain't going to think like me because you ain't got no courage. So we ain't having these conversations. Protect your mental sanity, black people. Protect yourself mentally. And that's how you protect yourself. Picking and choosing your battles. Peace, y'all. Oh, yeah. Get the instanceandashtrays.com/shop. Get the Black Music Family Tree. And my book is coming out soon. And hit me up if you want a reading. I'll holler at y'all.